Hello everyone, this is Brian K, and I'm doing an AM band scan. The date here is December 2nd, 2023, and I'm in a far western suburb of Chicago called Montgomery, Illinois. And just so you know, I grew up in County Kerry, Ireland. And I well remember the pirate days in especially the 80s. Not too much of memory of the late 70s. And I do remember being able, in Tralee, County Kerry, being able to receive South Coast radio at night. I wasn't really into it. I was probably, 10 or 11, 12 at that time. So I didn't go too far as regards AM DXing, but I do remember many of the pirates that came in the later 1980s. Kingdom 102, Southwest Radio, Horizon Radio, Rocky 103, WCR. I remember in Tralee we had Phoenix Radio, Kerry Local Radio, probably Radio Tralee, Shannonside Local Radio from Causeway, Coast 103. Of course, I remember the start of Radio Kerry in 1991. Paul Sheehan, and I remember there was a guy who set up the radio station in I think he used to teach at University of Limerick. I went to visit a few weeks before they came on air, watching them setting up the studio in Tralee. But anyway, I have fond memories of the pirate days in Ireland, and when I grew up there, it was so sad. The December 31st, 1988, the day the pirates closed down. But I do remember some stations coming on. I remember Galtee Regional Radio on 792 kilohertz coming on. They had quite a signal. You could hear it quite clearly in Tralee, yet I believe it might be in County Limerick somewhere where they set up the studio. I believe it was country music. It's amazing. I was like 14. I don't know, let me see, at the time I would have been about 17, I guess, at the time. I think my main years of recollection is 1986 onwards. I do remember making recordings on the radio. I still probably have the tapes. I'm almost sure I do. There were BASF orange tapes, if any of you remember them. We got this stereo radio cassette recorder back in 1983. It would actually record in stereo, but unfortunately the volume level wasn't too loud in it, so it didn't it created hissy recordings, although with modern techniques it's possible to remove those the hiss from the stereo. But anyway, just as a way to, I'm living almost 30 years in the US now, and AM radio is still strong, and I thought I'd do a band scan in the western Chicago suburbs. As I said, it's December 2nd here, 8:22 a.m. in the morning, and without further ado, let's go. This is 5:30 a.m.
for the city of Sandwich, Illinois, and its immediate vicinity.
Yeah, this is one of these traffic or information radio stations they often put at 5:30 a.m. Usually they're about 10 watts, but 10, maybe 20 watts. Sandwich, Illinois is about, I'd say, 15 miles as the crow flies from here, maybe a little more. So I'm amazed. I guess it's early morning here, and it's winter, so the propagation conditions are good. The ground is damp. That always helps. Low frequency AM, they really travel far. Next station is, for the longest time, it was a sports station from Milwaukee. I think it's WAUK, and it's only 400 watts, but this is coming about 120 miles away, And actually during the day it's clearer. I think we're getting co-channel interference from other 540 AMs, including, I think there's a 50,000 watter in Canada. But I think this has changed to a talk station, but it's quite receivable without interference during once the sun is up for an hour or two here. 550, there's nothing really on here most of the time. Again, we're early morning here, so we're getting a little skywave propagation. Going on to 560 AM is WIND Chicago. That's a 5,000 watter from, it's Gary, Northwest Indiana, but it blankets the Chicago area and probably 150-mile radius of 5,000 watts at 560 AM goes a long way. Next up, 570 is usually nothing here. 580 is public radio from Champaign, Illinois, which is in central Illinois. It's just about 150 miles from here, and I think it's a 5,000 or maybe 10,000 watt transmitter. But again, 580 AM goes a long way. If we remember back to the RTE days of 567 kilohertz medium wave with their 500,000 watt transmitter in Tullamore, as I understand, it could be heard in most of the UK easily, especially the salt water propagation over the RC. So let's go. 590 is usually nothing. 600 is, it's from, I know it's from Iowa. It's not coming to me right now what the exact city. I think it's Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It's probably 200 miles away from here, and I don't think it's that big a transmitter, 5,000 watts, but it travels pretty far. 610, usually nothing. 620, this is WTMJ from Milwaukee. They're actually 50,000 watt station, but the signal's aimed north. It's from the Milwaukee area, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is just north of us. But the signal is strongly aimed to the north, but we still get a pretty strong southern spill here. I figure we get maybe 5,000 watts of power aimed in this direction. It's usually quite listenable. But I understand that they switch down their power a lot at night. It's not a clear channel station. 630 is usually nothing. 640, I believe, is a station from Northwest Indiana. I think it's the Black Information Network now, but it's been many different owners over the years, so the format has changed regularly. It was Hispanic or country Mexican music there about a year or two ago, and it changed to the Black Information Network during COVID. Being a low frequency, and I think it's 10,000 watts a day, it comes in strong here, even though we're probably 45, 50 miles away. 650, 660, there's nothing here because we have a really strong clear channel 670 AM, which is one of the clear channel stations for Chicago. I think we have 4 total. We have 670 AM, 720 AM, and 780 AM, and WLS 890 AM. They're 24-hour, 50,000 watt clear channel stations, and at night you're going to hear them over much of the U.S. I remember when I was in Florida, Miami years ago, I brought a radio and I could pick some of these stations up at night. It's pretty amazing in the crowded bandit America that you still could pick up those stations 1,200 miles away from here. This is now a sports station. I'm not really into sports much, so to be quite honest, this is it'd be kind of, it wouldn't be of much interest to me. They used to be WMAQ. It's WSCR now, but it used to be WMAQ All News back in the mid to late 90s, and I listened to it somewhat then. All News 67 WMAQ, they used to say. It used to be a country music, I understand, maybe in the 80s or 70s at some stage. Okay, let's continue. There's not going to be any stations for a while because usually around the clear channels they leave lots of space. So 700 we might get something. I think there's something from Ohio there. Yeah, they're mentioning something about Chicago there. But I don't know if that's WLW from Cincinnati. But we'll move on. Cincinnati would be about, I don't know, 240 miles as the crow flies from here or something. I know it'd be longer by road, but radio waves only recognize straight line coverage. Let's continue. 7:20 a.m. WGN. Almost 100 years old. A lot of these Chicago Clear Channel stations, they are around the 100-year mark now. Many of them have three letters. These Clear Channel stations, WLS, WGN. Some have changed the call letters over the years. Let's go up. I think we're up on 7. There is 740 we hear at night from Canada. It's from the suburbs, I think London, Ontario, or Windsor, Ontario, near Detroit. At night, actually, they play like a golden oldies format, so it's kind of nice to hear something at night on the AM dial that's covering much of the North American continent. 7:50 a.m. This is a time brokerage station, so we get various formats on this station. It's paid time. Again, low frequency, I think 10,000 watts during the day, I think goes off at night. So let's continue. 760, we often get WJR at night from Detroit, a 50,000 watt clear channel. We're just too far we're 400 miles or so from Detroit. 77, so as they say in America, sometimes they abbreviate it to 2 numbers. If we were near New York, you'd hear WABC, but we're like about 950 miles away. So, but 780 is our clear channel in Chicago, 50,000 watts, blankets. Again, maybe 200-mile radius. It's very clear. You could probably go up to 300 or 400 miles away. A DXer, it would be intelligible, the audio. 800 AM. Not sure what that is. 810. 820. That's Chicago's Progressive Talk, one of the very few leftist stations. No interest in listening to that. Love listening to talk radio. But anyway, let's continue. 840. 850 used to be from Crystal Lake. They went silent there a couple of years ago at WAIT. AM radio is still relatively strong here, but occasionally we see odd stations, 1 or 2 stations going off the air. 870, I'm not aware of what that is. Some of these are coming in because it's still early morning, but I normally wouldn't hear a signal on these.
Electric motor. From there on, we're all electric over Anorak drive. It's 4-wheel drive. It's got a lot of power. It's got a lot of torque.
Yep.
It's really great for customer satisfaction when it comes to operation. Any place where you would use it.
Sometimes it's nice listening. They're quite intelligible, these signals, even though they're very distant. I can make out what they're saying. I'm sure you'll feel the same. Let's continue. 88, that would be WCBS in New York. We're getting WLS, crouching on this because that's much nearer. WLS is about 35 miles away from here in Tinley Park. It's the famous WLS that was number 1 probably in the late 60s and 70s. One of the clear...
AM 890. This is 890 WLS AM Chicago. 94.7 WLS FM. HD2 Chicago. News is next, but first, your WLS Weather Channel forecast. A cloudy start to the weekend on this Saturday with a little bit of patchy drizzle at times. The high today should get close to 43. Showers will pop up overnight with a low of 39. That rain will begin to taper off into the afternoon on Sunday. It'll be cloudy and breezy with a high of 42. To start off the week Monday, a few breaks in the clouds with a high near 43. From the Weather Channel, I'm Jeff Marr, WLS AM 890 with another update in 30 minutes. Station 16 in and 14 out. Kennedy in from O'Hare.
The legendary WLS, a Chicago staple, coming up on 100 years old, I believe, shortly. Let's continue on here. 9:10 a.m. I'm not aware what that is. That's a distant station. A lot of AM radio. Brings back the memories of growing up in Ireland. But still, AM radio is still a staple here. Not as much as it used to be in the music days, but in the talk radio department, it's nice to have a lot of different perspectives. That, I believe, could be, I don't know if it's Catholic radio, but she sounds like, yeah, let's find out what this station is, because this is a new find for me today. Nice to hear unusual, like music that you might hear on FM, but just to hear it on an AM, there's something magical and reminiscing about it. Better change because it'll be flagged for copyright on YouTube. 9:30 a.m. That's our local Catholic station. There's 2 transmitters in the Chicago area for relevant radio. 9:50 a.m. is is 1 kilowatt in downtown Chicago. You'll hear it in a minute. 9:50. It's 40 miles away, but still comes in pretty clear out here. And 9:30 then is a 2.5 kilowatt daytime, and actually 4 kilowatts at night. Interestingly, the Chicago transmitter goes to 5 kilowatts at night, but it's very directional. The 9:30 is directional as well, but it changes direction at night. But both increase their power, which means if you're north of Chicago at night, you probably hear it all the way up to Minnesota on 9:30 a.m. and maybe 9:50 as well.
That's good. You know, we all long for Jesus. And maybe
9:40 won't come in because 9:30 a.m. is only about maybe 7 miles from here. And this is the 951 kilowatt from Chicago, 40 miles away. 960, I'm not aware what that is because usually that doesn't come in during the day. But we got the twilight propagation here, even though it's probably sun up now for over an hour already. The front of the car is facing east, so we're facing, Chicago would be kind of slightly east to northeast, somewhere between east and northeast of where I'm facing right now. See, all these stations are intelligible. I mean,
okay. Well, it's Anorak. It's a citrus fruit about the size of an orange, which is now becoming much more popular, especially in the southern part of the U.S.
9:80 a.m.
Yes, I just bought a Ford Flex, and the lights go off, and they come back on if I switch it back off and back on.
9:90 a.m. Oh yeah, we're adjacent to another powerful 50,000 watt 1000 a.m., which is the sports station for Chicago.
Just to have to be on the side of that train.
WMVP it used to be called. I'm not sure if that's still the call letters. 50,000 watts during the day, but I think it goes down at night. It used to be WCFL, I think, in the 60s and 70s, and was a *1 station at one time. 10:20 a.m. Polish, I believe, from Chicago. The 10:30 a.m. 10:50. Let's see, 10:50. Yeah, we're getting co-channel from 2 stations. Let's see, 10:60. I know. 10:60. I'm not sure where that's from. I think it's Chicago. 1070, not sure if that's location. 1080. I believe it's from Chicago too. I think this speaks Polish during the day. Let's see, 1100, not sure what that is. But 1110 AM is a religious station from Moody Bible Institute. They're also 90.1 FM, 50,000 watts, I believe, during the day. Let's see, 1120 AM. Not sure what that is. 1130 from LaSalle, Illinois, I believe.
Yeah, it's like the window air conditioner. Exactly.
Morning talk show, I guess, on construction topics. 1140. I'm not sure what that is, but let's see. 1160. That's the name is escaping me now. This is a religious station, and they also own WIND. I know Dennis Prager is on their station. Just it starts, I think, with S, but the ownership is escaping me right now. But they own the Answer brand in the U.S.
Also has a tremendous evangelistic value. You see, I became a Christian because for the first time in my life, I was educated on Bible prophecy.
The name escapes me. It used to be WJJD in the 90s, Chicago's main easy listening music station. Great jingles, I remember too. AM 1160, WJJD, Chicago. But anyway, it's long been a religious station for maybe 20 plus years now. 1170, nothing. 1180, that's from about DeKalb, Illinois. They play usually pop music, standard, well, many pop music from the maybe 80s, 70s, and 90s. 1200, Spanish from Chicago.
Or Google attorney Alyssa Gerard in LaSalle.
This is 1220. It's probably from LaSalle, but I'm not familiar. This must be a recent news station. I haven't heard a signal on this before. LaSalle would be about 25 miles southwest of me. 1230, I'm not sure what that is. 1240 is a station in Aurora called WBIG. Oh, sorry, that's 1280. 1240 is from Chicago. I'm not sure what their format is now. It used to be Spanish. Let's see what 1250 is. 1270. 1280 is Hispanic from Chicago. Oh, no. Sorry, 1280 is WBIG from Aurora. It's nearly always sports. They recently got an FM transmitter locally on 105.5 as well. Usually many of these stations get 50 to 100 watt FM transmitters, and they place it on the same mast as the AM transmitter, and it gives local coverage, which is because many of these AM stations turn down at night, so they having these 50 to 100 watt transmitters gives good nighttime coverage, or give coverage when the AM signal will be either off or very weak. Okay, 1290. I think 1280 is about 1,000 watts, but it's only about 8-9 miles from here on Eola Road in Aurora, if you're wondering. 1310. Not sure what that is. I don't know every station around here. 1320. I think I used to know what this station was, but it's escaping me right now.
So you bring me into your office, and I remember this well. Nancy was in the meeting.
This is Dave Ramsey, I think, talking on financial information. Or at least he sounds like Dave Ramsey.
You gotta calm down. Callers are, I'm telling you, we're getting complaints about how, not what you say.
You'll hear him on many of these AM stations.
Well, that's exactly right.
If it is Dave Ramsey, let's go here at 1330. co-channel interference there, 2 stations. 1340 is from DeKalb, Sycamore area. They play a lot of pop music on this too. Reminds me of some AM music stations in Ireland, maybe in the early 1980s. This is Ramsey to Dave Ramsey on this channel. Okay. Oh, sorry. This is 1340. My mistake. Is from I think Joliet, and it's a news talk station, about a kilowatt. 1360, also about a kilowatt, is from DeKalb, Sycamore, and plays the pop music. 1370, 1380. This is actually from Wisconsin. This is like an 80s station. I think it's from like Janesville area, Beloit in southern Wisconsin. And it's unusual hearing this format, but they have an FM signal too locally there, but they're on the 1380 AM anyway. And I think, I don't know if they're more than a kilowatt. I mean, they're probably, I don't know, at least 80, 90 miles, maybe 100 miles from here, but it's still listenable. 1390 used to be Dusty Radio 1390 from Chicago. I think it's only a kilowatt, but now it's more gospel music, black gospel music. We're about 40 miles out from Chicago here, so it's somewhat listenable. I think this used to be Radio Disney as well for a while at one time, but anyway. 1400. 1410 is from Elgin. Can't remember the call letters, but they switch down their power at night. It's an interesting news talk station, a lot of daytime talk. I think they have some tradio too as well, where they trade. People call in and buy, restaurant coupons where you get the meal for sometimes less than half or even a third of the price. 1430. I believe that's a music station from LaSalle, Peru, Illinois. Sometimes they have nice songs you don't get on the FM here. 1440 AM is from Rockford. I think they're 5 kilowatts, and Rockford really isn't super far from here. Maybe it's 45 miles, but the signal doesn't come in the greatest. I don't know if it's just their transmitter or their antenna system is directional. But anyway, this is Rockford, like a news talk for Rockford. If we did 1130, I should have said earlier, is WISN in Wisconsin. That's one of the news talk stations for Wisconsin. And it's a 50,000 watter, but about 120 miles from here, but at the higher frequency and maybe a less than optimal antenna setup, it doesn't propagate super well. Let's go to 1460. Some Christmas music here. I hope YouTube doesn't. Oh, that's Johnny Mathis. Need a Little Christmas. 1470, not too aware of that. 1480 is it's a country music station owned by the same company that owns our local 107.1 radio station. Maybe they've changed format now, but as far as I know, they were, I think they call it Woody Country or something. They're also set up a transmitter on 101.5 FM.
From the WDYS Newsroom, I'm Ethan Kruger. Good morning. The Oswego Village Board
Yeah. Local news for Yorkville, Montgomery, Oswego, the southwestern suburbs of Chicago.
A news release from Village Hall says the plans are for a new prototype building with a larger interior.
1500 AM. 1510, I believe. I'm not sure if that's a suburban station or something from Evanston, Illinois. I know there's something up about there. But actually, there's not too much interference. It's just a low signal, but it's quite listenable. 1530. That could be from Cincinnati. I know there's a station from Cincinnati on that, but I'm not sure if that's that coming in. 1540.
Pizza and
1550.
6 through 8, Tuesday, December 12th.
This is also the same station we heard a while ago on 1480. I think they simulcast on 1550 AM. It's recently set up here. It only came on air about, I'd say in the last year, and I think they're only like 800 watts. But I think it's maybe about 15 miles away here, the transmitter, if I was to guess. 1560, nothing. 1570, this could be the Evanston station I was thinking about earlier. 1580.
Hewitt from the city of Oslo and even more.
You know what? This could be the station from Evanston I was talking about. I think they call this 1530. I think was a talk station for Chicago, but 1590 could be WCKG. They reused an old call letter, and Matt Walsh or someone who was a former congressman, I think, is on this station. It's talk radio.
He was very proud of the buildings. They continue and they open up, and people were standing in line. They said here during the springtime.
See, we're hearing some English accents here, or maybe Australian. I'm not sure. 1600, nothing. A lot of information stations between 1600 and 1650. This could be something for Aurora or Naperville. They're usually only 10 watts, but we're about, I don't know, 15 miles from that and you can hear it. 1630. It's another information, I think. 1640 is Catholic radio. It's their local 10,000 watt transmitter of relevant radio in Milwaukee. But we can hear it at this time, but by the middle of the day, 1640 goes under the noise floor. But it's intelligible right now here, and I'm probably 120 miles from this 10,000 watt transmitter. But I think there isn't much co-channel here, so that's why it's hearable. 1650, 1660. What was 1650 again? Let's see. Yeah, that's not really listenable. 1670.
That's one of the marquee games this week in the National Football League.
Sports somewhere. 1680, and we have a strong Chicago 1690.
And how in the world did you end up in
It's
this
now a black talk radio station, but it was a music station when it first got set up. And I think there was a guy called Ron Britton was on it. It was from Berwyn, Illinois. I think it's a good 10,000 watts too. It comes in pretty good even though it's high in the frequency band. Good thing about higher frequency is it doesn't propagate as far, but it's less prone to electrical noise than the lower frequencies, is my understanding. But so there's pros and cons in having those higher frequencies. Your antenna can be much shorter too. You don't have to build as tall an antenna. And I think that's about it. Thank you for joining me. 1700, 1710. I don't believe there's any stations on those frequencies. And thank you for bearing with me during this band scan. In a perfect world, I'd love to just leave it on for 5 minutes for each station, but there's probably a good 50 stations that were somewhat, at least relatively intelligible out of maybe the 100 slots on the dial there, maybe a little more. If I spent 5 minutes with each one, this would have been a 500-minute or 8-9 hour podcast. So anyway, greetings from Montgomery, Illinois, and thank you for viewing if this is of interest to you. Maybe next time I'll do a band scan of the FM band in the western suburbs of Chicago, which is pretty full. I would say 80% of the 0.2 spacing slots apart, which would be 100 FM slots. Probably there's 80 stations that are listenable. 50 of them would be strong enough for commercial strength, although many of the FMs are from Chicago, 40 miles away in the 5 to 8 kilowatt range. They're up on the Willis Tower, formerly known as the Sears Tower, or the John Hancock or the Trump Tower. Usually it's from one of those three, mainly the Willis or John Hancock, and they come, the pretty flat terrain of the Chicagoland area means they come in pretty reasonably, but usually it's down to almost mono in most car radios by the time they get out here, 42 to 45 miles out. But we're just below line of sight to the 1,600 feet high transmitters due to the curvature of the earth. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Give this a like if you like it. I hope many people in Ireland who remember the days of AM radio, this will give you some good memories. And I used to not like AM radio. I remember in the 80s when I first heard FM, I remember Radio 2 used to be on 612 kilohertz and Radio 1 on 567 kilohertz, and I think Cork Local Radio was 729 kilohertz with a 10 kilowatt transmitter. The Radio 2 612 kilohertz was a 100 kilowatt transmitter from Athlone, I believe, which was formerly the original RTE Radio 1 or Radio Éireann location before they moved to the Tullamore. All of these have since been closed, and I think now we just have Spirit Radio in northwestern Ireland at 549 kilohertz, and I think there's Radio Star Country, a pirate radio operating 30 plus years, also on 900 kilohertz or so. But anyway, I thought this would bring back some memories of what it's like to have still a reasonably busy AM band in the Chicago area. So thank you for watching. All the best to you, and God bless.